And welcome into Real Deal Sports Talk with KP. It is July 14th, 2019. We're in a lull, right? We're supposed to be in a lull, but hey, there's a lot of stories we can be talking about out there. There's a lot going on in sports. And again, this week, like last week, we're in the season of lists, right? So we've got all these lists going on, whether it's the best duos, the best defenders, the best defensive groups. I've been doing my position groups in the NFL. We have NBA lists going on right now. Who are the best two duos? Who are the best in the West with the aftermath, the fallout of the James Harden and Russ Westbrook connection there in Houston and the trade that went down and sending CP3 and all the movements that we've seen so far in NBA free agency and through trades. So we're in the season of lists. There's some other little stories and some little quips and some little fun things that are going out there in the sports world. The U.S. women's national team, amazing what they've got going on and the highlights they're getting to. I want to talk about Nick Wright's 7 best duos in the NBA. We'll talk about that a little bit. I'm, of course, going to reorder his list based on the way I see it, based on what I expect coming out this season, who's actually going to play, the rumors of who's going to play anyway. The NFL's got some silly news out right now with what the league's proposing and wanting to have happen with their schedule before the regular season starts, things that have been put out there like that. But let's start this week with my top 5 and bottom 5 receiving cores in the NFL. Now, I told you guys last week that I was going to include on this list tight ends. Because of the way they are used, I didn't want to separate them out into their own position group because, face it, they're part of the passing game in the NFL. They're more pass catchers. They're more involved in the passing game than they ever have before. So I included them in my breakdown of receiving cores as I went through and broke everybody down in the NFL. Now, again, I'll remind everybody this week, we've gone through the D-line, the linebackers, the secondary, the offensive line, and the receiving core. So I'll remind everybody again, this is how I broke it down, okay? Just my list. Everybody's got their list. There's plenty of lists out there. You have your own list. There's going to be there's teams on this list that if I break it down a different way, they would not have been as low on this list as they are. But with the way I've decided to have continuity across all of my lists is to have them broken down in the same way. So I have this week for the receiving core, I have it broken down into your wide receivers, your starting wide receivers, your third wide receiver, and or your slot guy, because that can change up depending on your team, the tight ends, and then any kind of depth that team might have at the position, however promising it may be. So those are the 4 groups. Then, with those 4 groups, I go into your division, NFC North, South, East, West, AFC North, South, East, West, and I break down those teams. Who has the best wide receiving group in the division? Who has the best third slot wide receiver? Who has the best tight ends? Who has the best key depth? And I rank those 1 through 4. Across the categories, you get 4 scores, you average them out, you get the best in the division. The best in the division moves on to be ranked 1 through 8, with the other bests in the divisions, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, so on. I end up with 4 groups, a group of 1s, 2s, 3s, and 4s across all 8 divisions from the NFL. I rank those groups out 1 through 8. If you're in the 1s group, that means you rank out 1 through 8 in the NFL. If you're in the 2s group, that means you're coming through 9 through 16, 17 through 24, 25 through 32. That's everybody. We're going to focus on the top 5, bottom 5. I'll give you the whole list. I'll give you a little bit of information as to why I'm thinking what I'm thinking, because it's just what I'm thinking. It's my ranking. It's how I would break it down. It's how I view it. It doesn't mean that's what it is. Let's be real. You go to any pundit that's out there, whether they work for the NFL.com, the NFL Network, ESPN, Fox Sports, your local radio, it's their version of a list. So as much as we like to sit back and argue the people's lists, and hey, I do it too. I've seen lists this week that I have problems with. I've seen lists over the last couple of weeks that I've agreed with, at least partially. But we'll get into my list for best tight ends. In the NFC North, best receiving core, in my opinion, the way I ranked it out, ended up shockingly, and this is not a favorite team type of thing. I have Detroit taking that division, followed by Minnesota, Chicago, and Green Bay. And I'm sure everybody out there is screaming, no way Detroit has a better group than Minnesota. No way Detroit's got a better group than Chicago. We'll break it down. If you look at just the wide receivers, yes, Minnesota, Adam Thielen, Stephon Diggs, best duo receiving-wise in the NFC North. Marvin Jones, Kenny Galladay have to be second behind that group. They're not behind Allen Robinson and Taylor Gabriel. They're not behind Devontae Adams and Marquez Scanley. So you get second there for Detroit. Minnesota first. You go through, and some divisions I'll give more detail to, some I won't. This one I will, because even surprising to me, Detroit came out so high. Third wide receiver or slot guy. Detroit's got Danny Amendola. Green Bay, Geronimo Allison. Minnesota, the way I'm seeing it, it's looking like Chad Beebe's going to step in that position over Treadwell. And then Chicago's got Anthony Miller, who's a really good third or a slot wide receiver. So I've got Chicago the second best there. I got Danny Amendola as the best third and or slot option in the division. That's very arguable based on those names right there. Moving to the tight end groups. Kyle Rudolph, solid tight end. Jimmy Graham had his day. Not there anymore for Green Bay. Trey Burton, okay, he'll have a good game every now and then. He's like the forgotten guy on the field. If you forget to cover him, he's going to make a couple plays. He'll be in on the Philly special, which is now the name everybody wants to use for that play. He'll be in on the little drag route in between the shovel pass where he goes in motion, catches the pass, and basically runs right up the center's butt. But not better than Kyle Rudolph. And not better than what Detroit's rolling out with TJ Hawkinson and Jesse James. So I've got Detroit with the second best tight end group. Kyle Rudolph, best tight end in the division, in my opinion. Jimmy Graham had his day again, but you can't argue that in the red zone he'll be a threat with Aaron Rodgers. Another year in the system, they'll find some more chemistry. Then you look at depth. Okay, well, I gave Chicago the best depth in the division. Tanner Gentry, Cordell Patterson, Riley Ridley, Adam Shaheen. A little bit of depth at each position, guys that are going to play special teams. Minnesota with Jordan Taylor, bringing him over from Denver. Tyler Conklin, Irv Smith Jr., the rookie tight end, only going to make everything better for that tight end group. Green Bay's got the worst depth in the division. I like Equanimus St. Brown out of Notre Dame 2 years ago. I think he will develop into a solid player. Mercedes Lewis, okay, he's a big, athletic tight end. Every now and then he's going to get you a catch. Most of the time he's going to be your inline blocker. And then Detroit, I've got them at the second best right there with Isaac Nauta, the rookie. Nauta out of Georgia, Brandon Powell out of Florida, a little scat, twitchy guy. Jermaine Kearse, excellent vet. Who knows if he makes the team. Travis Fulgham, the rookie there. He's making splashes, a lot of athleticism. Kenny Galladay-esque. And then Logan Thomas also at the tight end position. Kind of hitting veterans, tight ends, and receivers there. They've got guys that can step in, fill in. That's good depth. So that's why I have Detroit coming out there. In the NFC South, I gave the nod to the New Orleans Saints. Obviously, that one is easy to me. Atlanta right behind them, followed by Tampa Bay and Carolina, as some of Carolina's better players are getting a little older. Some of their depth isn't as great, and their younger guys are a little undersized, but still are playmakers. Can't deny that. NFC East, I got Philadelphia taking that division. When you got guys like Zach Ertz, you bring Deshaun Jackson back into the fold, Alshon Jeffrey, Nelson Aguilar. You've got Charles Johnson, Braxton Miller, Dallas Goedert, Richard Rodgers. A lot of depth, a lot of playmakers, and a lot of guys like a Braxton Miller that if you figure out how to use him, his athleticism and his football ability could be useful. Hasn't happened so far in his career for Braxton Miller to this point, but the potential is there. The depth is there. NFC West, I gave the nod to the Arizona Cardinals. Whoa, 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 a whole bunch of people I'm sure is saying, what about the LA Rams? Well, look at the LA Rams. Who would you rather have as your starting wide receivers? Larry Fitzgerald and a young Christian Kirk, or Brandon Cooks and Robert Woods? Right? Pick your poison. Pick your poison there. Robert Woods, great year last year. Brandon Cooks, we know what he offers. Okay, 1 and 2, you could argue there. You could split there. I did the same thing on the third wide receiver of the slot. I'm a big Cooper Kupp guy. I personally think when he went down for the Rams, that's when their offense changed, not when Todd Gurley started having his knee issues with the arthritis and whatever might be going on there. Go back, watch the tape, watch the film, watch the point total, watch how that offense moved down the field. When Cooper Kupp went out in about, I don't know, it was week 5, week 6, that Rams offense changed up a little bit. And they continue to change throughout the season, and they continue to have other things that happen, and it changed the chemistry of what they have going on there. So I've got Cooper Kupp with the best at that position. I think Andy Isabella, the rookie out of UMass coming in for Arizona, is going to be big. His speed, he's going to be able to take the top off. He's going to be able to run complementary routes to a Christian Kirk. He's going to give room to an aging veteran in Larry Fitzgerald who's nothing but a pro. So I like him there. DK Metcalf for Seattle, okay, third wide receiver in the division. I'll take him over Marquise Goodwin because I think Marquise Goodwin is kind of a one-trick pony. He's all about speed, like a Brandon Cooks. They're speed guys. Then you look at the tight end position. Arizona again, Charles Clay, solid tight end position. At the San Francisco, best tight end in the division with George Kittle by far. Ed Dixon for Seattle, I would take second. And Tyler Higbee for the Rams coming in third. So there you go. Now you've got some separation there because now Arizona and LA have dropped out of those 1 and 2 spots to the 3 and 4 spot, in my opinion, as far as their tight ends. But then Arizona jumps right back up with their depth. Hakeem Butler, the rookie coming in, is going to be big for them. He's going to learn a lot from a guy like Larry Fitzgerald, and he's going to be able to take his game to the next level because of a guy like Larry Fitzgerald. Pharaoh Cooper, Kevin White. Kevin White hasn't done a lot in his career. Who knows? Maybe he can get something done in Arizona. But I give the nod in the NFC West to Arizona. Moving over to the AFC side, AFC North. I've got the best in the AFC North being Cleveland Browns. On paper, you can't deny what they've put together at their skill positions. With a Jarvis Landry, with an Odell Beckham, with Rashard Higgins, David Njoku, Demetrius Harris, Antonio Callaway, Jalen Strong. They're deep, they're talented, they're big, they're fast, they can run every route in the route tree with the guys they have. Now, Pittsburgh, if they still had AB, probably challenges for that position because if you look at what they're still putting together without AB, it's still impressive. You have Dante Moncrief, you have Juju Smith-Schuster, you have Ryan Schweitzer, you have Vance McDonald, you have Eli Rogers, you have James Washington. So they're still loaded. They just don't have that star power that comes with AB anymore. Baltimore and Cincinnati, I graded out pretty much the same in the division. But for me, I would take what Cincinnati has over Baltimore. Baltimore's got a lot of tight end depth with a Mark Andrews, a Hayden Hurst, a Nick Boyle. They've got depth there. Seth Roberts is their third guy. I mean, he's had some success along the way. Willie Snead, Marcus Brown, the rookie. They're expecting a lot out of them with Lamar Jackson running the show this year. I'll take A.J. Green, Tyler Boyd's toughness, John Ross's speed, which has done nothing so far in the NFL, and Tyler Eifert with Adam Taylor and Drew Sample out there doing their thing for Cincinnati over Baltimore. AFC South, I took Tennessee with the best group, followed by Indianapolis, Houston, and Jacksonville's group coming in the rear. I like what Tennessee's starting to roll out there with Adam Humphries, Corey Davis, Tywan Taylor, Delaney Walker, still solid option at tight end. You bring in an A.J. Brown. You have Chadjay Sharp. You have a Cole Wick. I know what Indianapolis is doing looks impressive. A lot of that is to do with that offensive line and the quarterback play that they have. I'm not sold on Devin Funchess there. T.Y. Hilton's doing his thing. Ebron had a good season as far as stats-wise, still led the league in drops at his position. But you add Jack Doyle, you have a Paris Campbell, the rookie, coming in. So Indianapolis solid, coming in second in that division. And Jacksonville, they just don't have the guy yet. When maybe arguably your best receiver is maybe Tyrell Pryor, and he probably shouldn't be starting. You're looking at Marquise Lee and Day Westbrook, who should be a third or fourth guy on most teams. Maybe Marquise Lee and Day could be a second receiver, but you don't have a number one on this team right now. So you're still looking to use your running game mostly this season. In Houston, yes, they've got DeAndre Hopkins and Will Fuller, but after that, what do you have? You don't have a lot at the tight end position. We'll see what Cale Waring is able to do. Just not really sold on anything past their starting two guys there in Houston. In the AFC East, New England, you got to give the nod to what they're working with, followed by, and this surprised me, I've got Miami second, Buffalo third, and the Jets coming in fourth in that division. But you've got Julian Edelman. You add N'Keal Harry, the rookie there for New England. If Demaryius Thomas is able to come back at any point and be that third receiver or a target in the red zone type of guy, a possession type guy, that's solid there. But there's a question mark with that. Ben Watson, we know he got hurt, but he was coming back to play tight end. Ryan Izzo, so they're a little thin at the tight end group. But then you throw in their depth of Philip Dorsett, Matthew Slater, Matt Lacoste. It's just another team for New England that's stacked in a position that they know how to use each guy for what they do. So believe it. Even with Demaryius Thomas, I expect him to make the team. I expect him to be on the PUP list at the beginning of the season, and maybe around week 8, you're going to see him come back. Week 6, maybe something like that. AFC West, I've got a tie with the Chargers and the Broncos for the best receiving core in that group. You've got Emmanuel Sanders and Cortland Sutton against Keenan Allen and Mike Williams. That's kind of a push right there. Deshaun Hamilton, Travis Benjamin, that's kind of a push right there. Virgil Green, Noah Fant. A lot of people probably going to take Noah Fant out of that group. And then you look at the depth. Basically, LA's depth is Hunter Henry. Denver's got Tim Patrick, Juwan Winfrey, the rookie out of Colorado. Jake Butt, if he's able to play it all and stay healthy on those legs and those knees. Troy Fumagalli's coming back. We don't know what's coming there. And Jeff Hireman arguably had the best season of his career last season. So a lot of tight ends there for Denver. Some young receivers, some guys who could make some plays. And it just kind of passes what the Chargers are doing by the time you get to the depth and the tight end group. All right, so those are the winners of every division. Here's the 1s, 2s, 3s, and 4s, a complete breakdown. Every team that won their division, in my breakdown, Detroit, New Orleans, Philadelphia, Arizona, Cleveland, Tennessee, New England, and the Chargers. That second group would be Minnesota, Atlanta, the Giants, Rams, Pittsburgh, Indianapolis, Miami, and Denver. The third group would be Chicago, Tampa Bay, Dallas, San Francisco, Cincinnati, Houston, Buffalo, Oakland. And the 4s are Green Bay, Carolina, Washington, Seattle, Baltimore, Jacksonville, the Jets, and KC. All right, so bottom 5. Bottom 5 teams, these are just receiving groups that in their division didn't pan out as high, whether because they don't have a lot of depth, whether because they only have really one good receiver on that roster, or a guy who has proven to stay healthy. A lot of question marks maybe for these teams. Will guys stay healthy? Are they going to produce? Can the rookie step in? Is the starter going to be available? Things like that for these teams. So 28 through 32, my bottom 5 clubs. At 28, I have Washington. At 29, Kansas City. Because face it, you lose Tyreek Hill. You don't know what you're getting out of the rookie. You don't know what Sammy Watkins is going to bring. And Travis Kelce by himself is not enough. I have Seattle at 30, the Jets at 31, and Green Bay at 32. On the other side, top 5 teams. I have Philadelphia as the best overall receiving core, top to bottom, with depth and leadership, speed, size, physicality, all of that combined. They're the best in the NFL under my rankings, followed by New England, New Orleans, Detroit, and Arizona. Again, a different ranking system. Maybe this is not how it pans out, but that's how I see it. Those are my top 5, my bottom 5. 6 through 27 are as follows, just because why not give them all? We give them all each week. Tennessee, Cleveland, LA, Denver, Minnesota round out the top 10. Pittsburgh, Rams, Miami, Atlanta, Indianapolis, Giants, Chicago, San Francisco, Oakland, and Houston round out the top 20. Cincinnati, Tampa Bay, Buffalo, Dallas, Baltimore, Carolina, and Jacksonville round out through 27. So next week, we're going to go into, we'll go into running backs next week. We'll go into running back groups. That'll be running backs. That'll be fullbacks. Key depth at the position. Then we'll do quarterbacks. We'll hit special teams. Then maybe for fun, I'll take all of the team rankings that I have through all of these categories and come up with the best team in the NFL. We'll see how that breaks down. Maybe not. We might just end with position groups. And it's just something fun to do. Really, it's a time killer for me. It's interesting to see how the breakdown happens, because there are definitely teams in there, even in my bottom 5, that I'm like, I don't know if I really would put them in the bottom 5. But with the ranking system, the way I developed it, the way I put it together, that's where they fell out. And when I see that, and then I look at other people's lists, I start to understand a little bit more about how they put their list together, what they were looking at, what they were dealing with, how certain teams can fall and or rise based on how you put your system of rankings together. So there's still times I'm going to read other people's lists, like Nick Wright's list, who we're going to get to here in a little bit, and I'm going to go, you know what? No, I got a problem with that. I see this problem here. I see this problem here. And I'm going to be able to talk about it. And we'll be able to discuss it. Just like if you listening to me right now and you heard my list, you're going to be like, okay, no, you've got issues with your list. And if you want to tell me what those issues are, go to my website, www.realdealsportstalkwithkp.com. There's a nice little link. It says get at KP. You can get at me. You can leave me an email address if you want me to get back to you, or if you want to be on the show so you can share your opinion. It's all love. It's all real. It's sports. We're just talking. That's what this is. It's real deal talk. Real deal sports talk with your boy KP. Okay? So one thing you got to appreciate about that is that it's just sports, right? It's not life and death. It's a game. And we should be able to talk about it, discuss it, even argue about it with some realness. On that note, one thing I saw that I just wanted to talk about today and bring up that I thought was hilarious, and again, give nods to the U.S. women's national team for what they've accomplished, what people like Megan Rapinoe are doing and standing for, and the message they're trying to get across, and how much bigger than sports it really is, and how influential and impressed and how much respect I have for them. And they got a treat. They got treated, even though they didn't go to the White House. They're not going to go to the White House. They will not accept that invitation if it were to come. They were treated to a presidential meal. And what do I mean by that when I say they were treated to a presidential meal? Well, I mean your boy Jimmy Kimmel came out and he had some of the women, Megan Rapinoe and Alex Morgan, and on the show. They're doing all the publicity. They're hitting all the spots. The ladies are going to different places and different events and different publicity things. And he got them 5,000 chicken nuggets. He put it on a nice table, decorated it the way the White House has been doing for all the other champions. And he brought the 5,000 chicken nuggets out in a pile for the women's national team. So they got their presidential meal. They're not going to miss out on that. We can thank our lucky stars that they did not miss out on their fast food presidential meal. So thank you, Jimmy Kimmel, for going ahead and giving us that moment, giving the women that moment, giving them their presidential due that they will miss out on from 45. So, hey, I thought it was great. I thought it was hilarious. Mad respect to what the women and the women's national team are doing, and mad respect for Jimmy Kimmel for hooking them up with the meal there. I also got mad respect for the Houston Rockets right now. I did not think that their offseason was going to go very well. I thought they were going to fall back a little bit in the West, especially with the style of ball that they play. But as we have seen with the move that they made this week, They are trying to be contenders. I personally like the trade for Russell Westbrook. I like bringing him in. I think he's going to work well with Harden. I think you've got two wing players who can create their own shots, who have high assist numbers, who have high point numbers. And yes, they have high turnover numbers. Yes, they miss a lot of shots. Yes, Russ has missed the most three-pointers and been one of the worst three-point shooters over the last 2 seasons. But you've got two competitive guys. You've got two athletic guys. You've got two guys that have known each other almost their whole life, who have played together before, who enjoy playing with each other, who are going to play in a system that allows them to take one side of the floor and be a playmaker. Neither one of them are going to have to change what they're going to have to do. They're just going to have to decide who's bringing the ball up and what side of the floor is the other one going to be on. And I like what they have on their roster. You put those two guys together. You put in some spot-up shooters like a Eric Gordon, like a Gerald Green, who shoots high percentage from the three-point mark. You get rebounder guys in there like a Ken Fareed, like a Clint Capella. You bring in guys like a Tyson Chandler, even the Anthony Bennett, who they're bringing in to see if they can get anything out of him. You have Austin Rivers. You have Iman Shumpert. You have P.J. Tucker, who's going to give you a toughness on the defensive side of the ball. So now all of a sudden you've got some rim protection. You've got playmakers. You've got spot-up shooters. So Russ and James are driving in. They need to dish it out. They're going to be able to find guys. You're going to have guys there protecting the rim on the other side of the ball. And it doesn't seem like Houston right now is preparing for the Clippers. When you go get an Anthony Bennett and you're hoping his big self can get in there and protect, you're not looking for him to score 20. This is a guy who's put up like 4 points and 3 rebounds or something on his career. You're hoping to get something big out of him as far as maybe like 10 points and 6 or 7 rebounds. And really, you'd rather have 10 rebounds and maybe 6 or 7 points out of him. But when you bring in an Anthony Bennett with his size, when you bring in a Tyson Chandler with his defensive background, and you see what the Clippers have versus what the Lakers have with Anthony Davis, with DeMarcus Cousins and their size and their ability down low, you see that these transactions this week for Houston, they're preparing to take down LeBron James and the Lakers. They are not preparing to take down Kawhi Leonard and Paul George. That's not what these moves mean. Moving CP3 and bringing in Westbrook, you're not looking to go take down the Clippers. You're looking to be the best in the West, and these moves indicate to me that they view that team right now as LeBron James and the LA Lakers. You're not bringing in guys with big size, even if they're old in their career or their career has been a complete waste to this point, to compete with what the Clippers have when their big men are gone. They don't have a dominant big man on their club right now. The Lakers have 2. That's who they're competing with. Now, CP3, he gets sent back to Oklahoma City in this deal. Oklahoma City, he's played there before with part of the Hornets franchise. And they're, by all accounts, saying that their goal is to not have him play 1 minute for the team and to move him on before the season starts. Miami has come up playing with Jimmy Butler. Okay, that kind of makes sense. You know, you can kind of see it. But then there's reports coming out as late as today saying Miami is not going very hard at that trade. If it happens, it happens. But right now, they're not the ones driving that conversation. I personally still want to see him end up in a Lakers uniform. Could there be some kind of a Melo connection, whether it's in Miami, whether it's in LA, whether it's somewhere else where some of this banana boat crew gets together? But right now, I don't see where CP3 is a fit for the Lakers right now. Because who are you going to get rid of? You bring in Avery Bradley. He's kind of your defensive guy who can shoot pretty good. Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, you've been bringing him along. You probably aren't going to get rid of him now that he's making $12 million this year. Do you get rid of an Alex Caruso? Quinn Cook you just brought in at a point guard position. You've got Rajon Rondo there. So there's going to have to be some roster movement. Lance Stevenson is still technically under the Lakers roster this year. So there's not a place for him right now. There's not a place for Melo to join that team right now. but it'd be great to see. I don't know if that makes the Lakers like the overall title contenders, adding 2 players that are a little bit later in their careers to their roster to be an older club. They don't offer a lot of defensive ability anymore. Melo has always been a scorer. He's been an offensive guy. He's been a true wing. I enjoy his game. You know he can play. You see him on the international level, and he dominates. The problem in the NBA is it's a different style game, and no team has fully developed a game for Melo. Denver did it a little bit before they lost Melo. George Karl had that team really playing well, with Melo being able to be a true wing, a scorer. He needs to transition at this point in his career to be that scorer, that guy who can come in off the bench and help the team, get him 10 to 15 a night, get 5-6 rebounds, maybe 2 or 3 assists. That's the player Carmelo needs to transition into to play the rest of his career. We've heard similar things from guys like Chauncey Billups, where he thinks Carmelo's too, set on being that 30-point guy. And maybe that's so. But I think he can still play. I think C3P can still play. I like Harden and Westbrook together. They're clearly trying to be the best team in the West. They're clearly trying to take down the Lakers. And the Thunder, I don't know if they're trying to reproduce drafting Kevin Durant, James Harden, and Russell Westbrook again with what they've done, but it's ridiculously impressive. The first-round picks that they have put together over the next several seasons. Nikki Javalia of The Athletic pointed out that they have rights to 6th grader out of this deal. 2020, they have their first-round pick and Denver's first-round pick. 2021, they swap with Houston and have Miami's first-round pick. 2022, they have Oklahoma City's somewhere 1 through 14, which should be a lottery pick. Clippers pick in 2022. In 2023, they swap with the Clippers and they have Miami's protected first-round pick. In 2024, they have their first-round pick, the Clippers' first-round pick, Houston's first-round pick. In 2025, they have a swap with Houston and the Clippers. In 2026, they have theirs, the Clippers, Houston. So they are loaded with first-round picks. They're going to be getting a ton of talent there, and maybe that helps Billy Donovan do what Billy Donovan does for the Thunder, because he's good at coaching the young guys, those college-age guys, getting them to play together, buy into his system. It wasn't working with Melo and Russ and PG. It wasn't working with Russ and PG. PG said he wanted to be there and found his way out as fast as he could, even asking for a trade after he said he was committed to stay there. So don't trust what PG's coming to say when it comes to business. Russ finally had his due, was done, asked for the trade after, Dame hit the 35-foot three is what's being reported to end the season. Wanted out. Wasn't going to happen there. So we'll see what happens with all these teams. It's been super exciting for sure, to say the least. Now, all of this has led to the idea of who's the best duo, who's the best 2 players on any team in the NBA now, with all this mixing and matching and moving and trading and signing. And Nick Wright, I respect to Nick Wright. He's one of the guys I follow. I like to hear what his opinion is on different stories. And he put out his list of the 7 best duos in the NBA right now. And if you look at his list, you can't argue the duos that he's chosen to put on the list, but because of who will and will not play next year and their ranking, I would have to say that the ranking of the list needs to be reordered. Because you have guys that we don't know how they're going to play together. We may not get to see them play together next year. And if we do get to see them play again together next year, we don't know how certain players will come back from the injuries they sustain. Namely, Kevin Durant and Klay Thompson. So if you go through Nick Wright's list, at number 1, he has LeBron and Anthony Davis. 2, Kawhi and Paul George. 3, Harden and Russ. 4, Kevin Durant and Kyrie. 5, Steph and Klay. 6, Giannis and Chris Middleton. And at 7, he's got Embiid and Simmons. So here's how I would reorder that list. It's not much different, but I drop 2 of the groups down because we're either not going to see them play at all together next year, or it's not going to be the top version of that tandem because two of the guys are coming back from major injury. So even if they're able to play next year and not re-injure something else, we all know it still takes another season for anybody to come back from an Achilles, from an ACL. So both Clay and Kevin could play this year. Chris Carter is reporting that the people he's talking to says Kevin Durant's going to be back in 6 months. So we'll see. But I'm going to take it, and I'm going to leave LeBron and AD as 1. I leave Kawhi and Paul George as 2, and Harden and Russ at 3. Here's where it gets different for me. I'm moving Giannis and Chris Middleton up. I'm moving Embiid and Simmons up. And I move Kyrie and KD to that 6th spot, and Steph and Clay then to the 7th spot. Only because we don't know if Kevin Durant's going to play next year. If he doesn't play next year, that duo is not on this list. Steph and Clay. We know what we're going to get out of Steph and Clay, but Clay might not be back till the All-Star break, till December. And when he does come back, is he going to be the same player? Is he going to have the same bounce? Is he going to be a little protective of that knee? Or is there complications that might happen between now and then and he doesn't come back? So those two for me at this point, right now, in 2019, in July, before the season starts, before they've hit the court, they can't be higher than that. Can they be in this top 7 still? Of course. Right now. If they don't play at all, they move out of that list to me. NFL needs to move out of their offices. I don't know what they're doing with this little silliness and the talk that they're doing. They know that the players' union has informed the players to save their money, to prepare for the lockout, to prepare to not be playing. They have said they want a new CBA by the start of the regular season this year. Well, you got a lot of negotiating to do because this players' union, these players, they're not going to put up with some nonsense anymore. They want guaranteed contracts. Your proposal of an 18-game schedule so you can make more money, and the idea that that's somehow for the fans, no, it's not. Because you're going to say, okay, 18-game schedule, we're going to require the players to participate in 16 of those games, but we're going to charge full price. So when you go to a Detroit Lions game and you want to see Matthew Stafford, sorry, he's not playing this week. It's not one of his 16 games. When you go to a Giants game and you want to see Barkley play, oh, sorry, he's not playing this week. Drew Brees is out this week. There's no Tom Brady or Aaron Rodgers this week. They're off this week on Monday Night Football. It's not one of their 16 games. That's not about the fans. That's just about putting more money in your product. You're trying to figure out in your pocket. You're trying to figure out how to extend more dollars into your pocket. You're not doing anything for the players that's better. You haven't talked about really increasing the roster all that much. I've heard ideas that maybe they put in an extra bye week. Yank. You don't need 18 games. Okay, that's not what anybody needs. If you want to increase it, decrease the number of preseason games. We don't need 4 or 5 preseason games. The players don't need it. The fans don't need it. Will we come? Yes, we'll come. We love football. But you can't take advantage of that as the league. Silliness. Come with a real proposal where all of a sudden, instead of a 53-man roster and a 40-something man roster on game day, 46? Something like that, that's suit on game day? Okay, well, give me a 70-man roster and 60 guys who suit on game day. Give me 3 bye weeks during the season. Extend the regular season out from the beginning of July. Give me guaranteed money. Then, now we're on a place where we can start talking. We'll start negotiating the CBA from that point. Guaranteed money, more time off, and a longer season so we can fit in your 18 games. With a bigger roster. So my body isn't getting beat up and demolished so you can get rich. Now, I know it's a choice. Of course it's a choice. It's a choice. You know what the game does. You know how violent it is. You've been playing for a while. You know what the hits feel like. that doesn't make the other action okay. That doesn't make it okay to then take advantage of somebody else and to take advantage of their blood and sweat because they made a choice. You should still have the best look for your team. You should still want the best for your players, and you should want the best for their health so you can have a continued success with those players. That's real talk. That's what I got for you today. Until next time, you know how we do. Just be real.